I'm going to cover two topics today, and then I'm going to try to be quick about it because I don't like dragging these on. One topic is tenure, why it matters, even though everything you read on LinkedIn and social media seems to tell you tenure doesn't matter. And just FYI, what you read online and what happens in the real world is two different things. And that's sparked by an Instagram post I've seen. And then the second thing I'm going to talk about is this chart you see on my screen here. Kane sent this over last night and presented the question: if this was the trajectory of your career, which one would you pick and why? And we'll talk about that. And this all stems from running and investing in companies for 20 years, owning a handful of recruiting companies, owning one of the largest, fastest growing career service companies in the country called Employment Boost. Spent 2 decades talking careers at the end of the day. Got a little bit of knowledge on that subject. Let's talk tenure before we jump into this chart. I see a post on Instagram that popped up, and it said something like, I should have changed jobs sooner because after spending 7 years at this job, I got a 50% pay raise. And I wish you could talk to people that it's not that you got a 50% pay raise just because you switched jobs. It's the fact that you stayed somewhere 7 years made it worth someone to pay you 50% more. Don't get me wrong. You could have, probably job hop, and eventually got the higher wage. But I'm going to tell you, just go look on LinkedIn, find someone that's in their 50s who did that, and look at the trajectory of their career. And you're going to find out really quickly why I say don't do that. As an employer, as someone that invests in companies and has this conversation about hiring, and I've never seen a hiring manager in 20 years, especially executives, say, I'm excited that they can only stay at a job for 9 months. No one ever pays that person more money unless they're on a contract. They're going to come in for 9 months. Everyone knows they're going to do the project and get out. Turnover is really expensive. So companies traditionally want someone that's going to stick around a few years. They say, especially in a new role, it takes you up to 2 years to get really good at the job. How do you ever get good at anything if you leave in 12 months? So why would companies want to overpay you if you're only going to stick around a while? I don't know why people don't want to get this through their head. It's because they saw all this stuff on websites and social media that say that's okay to job hop. Yeah, it's up to you say that. Go find the people that are signing your checks and see if that's what they believe. It's a huge difference between what you see on social media and what happens in real life. So when I saw that comment of I should have hopped sooner, it's like, no, someone was willing to spend more money on you because they felt like you would stick around for a while. It's that simple. It's like, well, why don't you want to invest in me? Well, if your average tenure is 12 months and you've been here 7, why do I want to invest money in you if you're going to probably leave within 2 months? This seems like very common sense stuff that I think some people just they don't understand that for some reason. Go look at the people that built great careers and follow that blueprint. It hasn't changed. It probably won't change. You don't need to stay anywhere forever. But sticking around for a while, if you're growing and you're in a good organization, can benefit you. So let me talk about this chart here Kane sends me. Hits you up and he's like, okay, if you had to pick one, which one would you pick? And, the yellow one's obviously exciting, $200K at 25 years old. The orange one's exciting, and, the blue line is like the traditional trajectory of what you think is going to be like having, working a 40-year career, which is another whole issue with the job hopping thing. If you got to get out of school like 22 and you're going to work till 65, you got to work for 4 decades. It's, you can hop around your 20s and 30s if you understand how hard it is to get a job in your late 40s and 50s. You would think twice about the job hopping now. Whole other conversation for that one. So, in the group text, a couple people picked the yellow line, get the most money up front, invest it, and then all that type of stuff. And then I picked the orange line. And I'll tell you why. The the people I know that weren't like entrepreneurs that crush it and own their own business and they're multimillionaires, removing those people from the equation. A lot of people I know that have a lot of money right now, they've had steady employment through their whole life. And it made them not have like, growing like crazy. It's just they had 30 or 40 years of consistent employment. It's when you like lose a job and you're out of work for 3 or 6 months, do you realize being out of work for 3 or 6 months how much of your savings you eat up? It might take you another 2 or 3 years of savings to make up for that money, for example. Being stably employed nonstop with no breaks gives you a certain level of stability. And I think people greatly overlook that right now because with the way the economy is, like, oh, you can hop anywhere and make an extra 5 or 10. I'm like, but what if that 5 or 10 now? Like, we do that in the first 20 years of our career, and we don't realize how much money that's going to cost us in the second half of our career, from like 40 to 60. So I'm saying, looking at the chart, if I had to pick one right now for the average person, I'm saying orange. It's your lifestyle, you won't live above your means, you don't have to deal with the fluctuations, you're on an even keel. You could just live at a certain lifestyle and keep investing, and you got a nice plan for retirement. I know people like this that worked in, you know, Ford and GM factories, blue collar workers that made decent money, that saved their money, and by the time they were 55 or 60 years old, they were multimillionaires. Lived where they should, they didn't live above their means, and they just kept investing and investing and investing. And they're way wealthier than a lot of these people I knew that were making all the money in their early 20s. So the issue here with the yellow line is you assume that at 25 years old making that kind of money, you're going to make all the right decisions. You're not going to overextend your life. You're going to make all these smart investments. You're going to do everything perfect. And I think we know that's BS. And the problem is by the time you figure that out, now you're probably 30, 35. You spent a bunch of money, but you're used to that lifestyle, right? Now that money keeps going down, 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 and down. I don't want to spend my 20s living a certain lifestyle and know that it's only going to get worse from here. Like, I think a lot of times you look at people's careers start falling at around 40. You can also look at the amount of suicides that go up in people's late 30s and 40s. Like, I'm factoring all things in life, not just a number in the account. What is my mental state? How am I going to feel? What's it look like for the rest of my life? Do I still have utility? Do I still have purpose? Am I still valued? Starting off at 25, it being the peak of your life, and then going down, I don't know how great of a life that would be. So I factor all that stuff in. And also, you think that just because you're making that money, that you're just going to dump it into investments and make a bunch of money. Keep in mind, from 2000 to 2010, the S&P 500 return was like 0 or something. You can't always bank on that you're just going to throw your money in and get 15% every year. What if you did it during that period of time when there was no return? So you can't bank on that. To make these investments early on to make up for that time when you're like 50, 55. Again, 25 years old thinking that you're going to spend the money right and not blow too much of it and make all the right investments and the market is going to be the right economy for you and all this stuff, it's too much to risk. And then the blue line, the traditional trajectory, works for about the top 10% of people. What they don't tell you is right where they all intersect, right around probably 40, 45, is when most careers start to peak. Most careers will have a downward turn from there. If you see what goes on, ageism and everything in the marketplace, people start to have health issues and medical issues in their 40s. You have some people have mental decline. It's just hard. So your income earning potential starts to go down. I don't know how realistic that blue line is unless you're in the top 10% and you're healthy and everything goes well. So what I don't want to do is finally get to the point where I start making good money, but you're having issues with your health or there's issues with your age and the economy, and then your earnings potential dwindles. That's why I like the orange line. It's the people who have the steady job and they live a steady life and there's no ups and downs always seem to come out better. Not always. A lot of people do. So if you have a good job and you feel like it could go somewhere and you're getting paid a fair wage, anyone can always leave for more money, but it doesn't mean that's going to benefit you 10 years from now. That steady player seems to win the race, right? It's a sprint, not a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Like we can talk about that all day long, looking at these charts. I just don't like the idea of living this great, you know, baller lifestyle, 25 to 30, and then it's like it's never going to get better from here. Or this thought of I'm a rising star, but what happens if, something happens to my health or people don't want to hire you because you're 50? Yeah, it's nice just knowing that. And then the adjustments on lifestyle, right? At this blue line, lifestyle creep happens. As you make more money, you spend more money. I knew doctors that lived check to check. They made more money, they spent more money. They weren't rich, they just had income. Um, it just depends on how you look at that lifestyle. And what you really don't want to do is you're used to living this high lifestyle, and then every year it's just going to get less and less and less and less, unless those investments really pay off, right? But who says you're going to have the investments based on what's going on in the market? So a couple things here. Just tenure matters. Companies will pay more for tenure. You will see more value when you have ability to stick around. Companies will want to invest in you when you stick around. I don't know why. You know why you see so much of this stuff on social media and media in general? If a major news place says, you should stick around 5 years, people don't want to read that article, so they don't publish it. They want to publish the article that says it's okay to leave a job every year, because they know more people will read that because that's what they want to read. So every day you're reading this content that isn't necessarily good for you, it's just what the news site gets more clicks on. You start believing it, and then you see more of it on LinkedIn and social media, and you start thinking, okay, I should change jobs every year. Until you realize you wake up one day and someone's like, look, man, you've had 15 jobs in 20 years. I don't want to take a risk on you anymore. And then you wake up at 38, 40, 42 years old, and it's really hard to get a job. No one looks down the road anymore. It's all about right now. That's not how you see people win, and I'm trying to give you an idea how to win here. It's the steady players usually win the game. The people with the stability will end up getting paid more in the long run. Anyone can leave right now for 10,000 more. What does your life look like at 40 and 50? If you don't have an answer to that question, you need to think about it. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. I'll catch you on the next one.